It's lap 52. You're a road racer. You've spent your whole life turning both directions, drifting through S's, dancing on the edge of grip on tarmac ribbons through hills and cities. You've never, not once, led a lap on a short oval in front of 80,000 people under lights. And right now, you just took the position away from the reigning points leader of the biggest stock car series on the planet. You key the radio. And the only thing you can think to say is, "I'm leading. What the expletive do I do now?" That's exactly what Shane Van Gisbergen said over his own team radio, a moment racers Matt Weaver called comedic even as it happened live on air. Hold onto that line. Because by the end of this story, it's going to mean something very different than it does right now. Before we get there, quick thing, if you're new here, this is NASCAR Voltage, and we're closing in on 500 subscribers. If you want more breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment below. Every single one helps this channel grow, and your support genuinely shapes what stories we dig into next. Now, who is this guy who apparently doesn't know what to do when he's winning? Shane Van Gisbergen is a three-time Supercars champion, with a resume full of road and street course wins overseas. He walked into NASCAR and won on debut at Chicago. That part of the story was never in question. The part that was in question, the part that followed him everywhere, was ovals. Early in his Rookie Cup season, Van Gisbergen was blunt about it himself. He admitted the team had nothing to show for it, really on ovals, conceding they had struggled and racked up accidents along the way. The receipts piled up fast. Pit crew members were suspended after a wheel came off during a Martinsville stop. There was a stretch where he sat 34th in points with only one top 20 finish to his name. Across NASCAR media, the label solidified, brilliant on road courses, a liability everywhere else. Every road course win added applause. Every oval start added a question mark. And that question mark followed him into 2026. But something was changing quietly under the radar. Nobody was paying close enough attention to it, because it was about to collide with something for Messiah, a rivalry that was building toward a breaking point. That rivalry had a name, Austin Hill. The tension between the two dated back to their Xfinity Series days, contact at Cotter, contact at Sonoma, including a smoke show burnout in Hill's face that Dale Earnhardt Jr. publicly called good theater. Then came San Diego, where Richard Childress himself said over the radio that he believed a later crash was payback for California. The flashpoint came at Chicagoland. Van Gisbergen's number 97 made contact with the back of Hill's car, ending his night. Hill retaliated by sideswiping Van Gisbergen under caution. NASCAR summoned both drivers for a 17-minute closed-door meeting in the hauler, the kind of meeting that only happens when officials believe a situation is close to spiraling out of control. Van Gisbergen, clearly the one with more to lose, told reporters afterward, "I don't really want to do it again." Hill, for more guarded with media, would only call the meeting interesting. Van Gisbergen later suggested he was the one who showed genuine contrition in that room, while implying Hill wasn't as ready to move on. That thread never got resolved, and it followed both drivers into the very next race weekend. So here's where things stood: a driver carrying a label that said he couldn't handle ovals, a rival who might not be finished with him, and a playoff cut line getting closer every single week. That was the pressure Shane Van Gisbergen walked into on July 18th. What happened next is the part nobody expected. North Wilkesboro, July 18th. 2 days. 2 races. And a driver who hadn't shaken a label he'd been carrying since his first oval start in NASCAR. Saturday started quietly, a truck race most people weren't watching closely. Van Gisbergen qualified 19th, in a truck he'd barely driven, in only his 4th ever truck start. For most of the race, there was no dramatic overtake, no viral moment. Just a slow, steady climb through the field, picking off names one at a time, a reigning champion here, a cup champion there, lap after lap, without a single major mistake along the way. By the checkered flag, Van Gisbergen had finished 3rd, his best oval finish in any NASCAR series, from 19th on the grid, at a track that hadn't hosted points racing in 3 decades. Afterward, he explained it simply: Once I figured it out, I kind of learned my own line. That was Saturday. Sunday was the Cup race that flipped the entire narrative. Rain had cancelled qualifying, which meant starting positions were set by a metric formula, an unusually generous 8th place starting spot for Van Gisbergen. What followed unfolded like a heist, piece by piece. The first caution came on lap 40. Van Gisbergen made a bold two-tire call, vaulting him from 9th to 4th. Then came a hot restart. Within 2 laps, he was running second, directly behind points leader Denny Hamlin. Then the pass itself, side by side through the banking, and for the first time in his life, Van Gisbergen was leading a Cup race on a short track. That's when the radio line from the cold open finally made sense in full context. I'm leading. What the expletive do I do now? It wasn't confusion. It was a driver who had spent his entire career being told he didn't belong on ovals, suddenly finding himself out front on one, with no roadmap for what came next. The moment didn't last without cost. Van Gisbergen lost stage 1 to Ty Gibbs by just 0.07 seconds at the line, a margin close enough that broadcasters described it as a stage win missed by the width of a car door. Still, he banked stage points twice across the night. As the long runs wore on, his tires faded, and a cramping leg forced him to switch from left foot braking to right foot braking mid-race, a real physical toll from a driver adapting his technique on the fly, in real time, with no margin for error. He finished 5th, his equal best Cup oval result of the season. The validation didn't come from Van Gisbergen himself. It came from 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson, who said live on the broadcast, "Shane's trouble for the rest of this field, man." Added up, 5th in Cup. 3rd in trucks. 49 laps led. 54 points above the playoff cut line. On paper, it reads like a redemption arc wrapped up in a single weekend. But redemption stories in NASCAR rarely stay wrapped up for long, and this one comes with an argument attached that nobody has settled yet. Before we get into that argument, quick reminder, this channel, NASCAR Voltage, is closing in on 500 subscribers, and if breakdowns like this are useful to you, subscribing and dropping a comment genuinely helps decide what races and storylines we cover next. Your input shapes this channel more than you'd think. Now, the argument. 2 sides. No resolution, because the sport itself hasn't resolved it yet. Side 1, has figured it out. Look at the season arc as a whole, not just one weekend. There was a top 10 finish at Atlanta. Laps led at Charlotte. A top 5 stretch at Nashville, matched again at Chicago. And now this, a 3rd and a 5th on one of the toughest oval weekends of the year. Consider the 3-year callback. Van Gisbergen's very first oval start in NASCAR ended in a 19th place truck finish at IRP. 3 years later, starting 19th on the grid at a track he'd never even seen before, he finished 3rd. Social media stat trackers pushed out after the race noted that Van Gisbergen now has more oval top 5s in 2026 than he had oval top 10s coming into the season. Side 2, one great weekend doesn't erase a pattern. North Wilkesboro is a short track on fresh pavement, under lights, it isn't Daytona, and it isn't a mile-and-a-half oval. Skeptics point out that short tracks reward patience and precise lines more than raw oval instinct, and the real tests, Daytona, the bigger superspeedways, are still ahead in the final 5 races of the season. And the hill situation is still unresolved. It could reignite at any of the next 5 events, several of which are exactly the kind of high-tension short-track and superspeedway combinations where their history has flared before. There's also the pressure question, is 54 points actually a safe cushion, or does it only feel safe until the next incident-prone, crowded oval field puts him back into the wall? So which is it? Is this the weekend Shane Van Gisbergen finally silenced the road course specialist argument for good? Or is this one hot night at one specific short track, about to be tested against everything still ahead of him, Indianapolis, Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, and a rival who hasn't said this is over? Here's what we know for certain, stacked without a bow on top, 5 oval races remain on the schedule. A feud that ended in a closed-door hauler meeting, not a handshake. A driver who admitted, in his own words, that he was the one with the most to lose. And a label that took 1 weekend to shake, or 1 weekend to fake. He silenced the doubters for one night. NASCAR doesn't care about one night. If you found this breakdown useful, this is exactly the kind of story we dig into every week on NASCAR Voltage: the rivalries, the numbers, the moments that actually decide championships. Hit subscribe if you want to be here for the next one, drop a like, and let us know in the comments: has Shane van Gisbergen actually solved ovals, or are we all about to find out the hard way? Share this with someone who's been arguing about SVG's Cup future, and if you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.